Okay, we're going to start. So welcome everybody to Benetech ServiceNet webinar. What we're going to do today, we're going to spend some time giving you a very quick recap of what we've been doing in the last month. We are also going to show you our preliminary mockups and talk about the pilot that we plan to launch in the Bay Area in Q1 2019. So that you know, we are recording this session right now, and we will make this recording available to all of you in case you want to share it with your colleagues, your partners, etc. For those who don't know me, my name is Clotilde Vasconi. I am Benetech Labs Program Manager, and I have with me in the room Anne Wee, the Vice President of Benetech Labs. Anne will be with me and will answer the questions with me at the end of this webinar. So we Okay, here we go. We want to give you a very quick high-level overview of ServiceNet for those of you in the room who have not heard about the project yet. So fundamentally, the problem that ServiceNet is trying to solve is that the ServiceNet is really hard to, the safety net, sorry, is really hard to see. It's difficult for people in need to know what resources or services are truly available in their community, how to find a shelter tonight, how to find food or mental health care. We know and recognize that in the ecosystem, there's already a lot of expertise and work being done. There are lots of organizations that are maintaining resource directory in order to help people navigate the system. Some organizations have a large and broad directory, while other organizations are going to specialize in a region, a type of person, a type of service. So for instance, a city, a county, or a specific field like food or shelter, or a type of person like people with disabilities, for instance. Well, what if all those organizations could share that data so that no matter how they are working, who they are serving, they all have access to the same pool of expertise and information, a same pool that reflects the expertise of everybody in the whole community? And what if this new data were more efficiently and cost-effectively maintained? So let me tell you right now, ServiceNet is not about building a centralized data set, quite the contrary. It's about building infrastructure to enable collaboration between the different organizations. And it's not about building another front-end tool. It's really about plumbing, creating the plumbing to connect existing systems. It's been inspired by the standards work of the Open Referral Initiative. And something important to understand as well, it's not about client data. It's really about the information that exists to explain what services are available, where, how, when, the eligibility criteria, application process, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really around data collaboration between all the organizations that exist today and that have information about services available in the community. So what are the outcomes that we plan to reach with ServiceNet? Well, ultimately, it's about helping people in need and enabling the community together to do a better job at helping the community in need. And you know, at the end of the day, it's about improved service delivery, better referrals, etc. And also generate important benefits for the actors in the ecosystem, gaining efficiency, more and better data available for everybody, more effective resource allocation, which we hope will enable the community as a whole to collectively do more for people in need. So what have we been doing in the past month? As many of you know, we've had a convening earlier this year with 45 participants from INR organizations, direct service providers, government agencies. And during those two-day convening, we did discovery work together, discussed the opportunities and challenges of data collaboration. We did a lot of work together. And at the end of those 2 days, we collectively decided that there were 4 important strategic aspects of the discussions that we needed to tackle together on top of working on the data sharing platform. So we launched those 4 discussion groups on core aspects of the work that are really critical and complementary to the tech work. So the first one is around ServiceNet governance. The goal of this discussion group is to establish ServiceNet governance model and launch the pilot. We've had several calls with that group, and based on those discussions, we're currently drafting a data sharing agreement that we're going to refine with pilot partners and sign. The shared vision group the goal was to provide a vision for broader impact by creating a collective impact statement. So we've had 2 very good calls with the group, and the group drafted and refined ServiceNet purpose statement that we are going to share with the broader group when it's ready. The accounting and valuing contribution group had 2 goals. The first one is to better understand costs associated with updates and maintenance, because it's very important for us and for the community to know how much does it cost to acquire information about existing services, how much does it cost to maintain that record, so that ultimately we can really value and recognize the expertise that is going to be brought to the ServiceNet platform and community. So we put together a survey. Some organizations already sent us their answers, and we will continue working on this aspect with the pilot partners. Another aspect of that accounting and valuing contributions group is around the identification of precedents for contribution. So we had the help of Greg Bloom from Open Referral. Greg helped us and did some research on how to generate and value contributions in an open distributed peer network. So he did the research, he did all the hard reading of those very dry papers, and he put together a 5-page document that is available on the ServiceNet webpage. If some of you don't know where the ServiceNet webpage is, don't hesitate to send me an email and I'll send you the link again. And if some of you are very, very interested, what we can do after the end of this presentation is have Greg give us a high-level 2 or 3 minute overview of that paper. But really, something very important for you to understand is if you're interested in that work, let us know. I can always add you to the participants of those groups so that you can work with us on those important questions, and because we're really looking forward to your contribution and your feedback. And the last group is around the role of funders and governments. The goal is to identify how funders and government can ensure the availability and accuracy of data about the services that they support. So we had a very good first call with this group, and we are going to plan the next one. So don't hesitate to reach out. Same thing, if you're interested in this topic, let me know and I'll gladly add you to the list of participants. So as many of you know, we've been engaging with local IN organizations, local service providers, government agencies for quite some time now. We have talked a lot about that topic through those discussion groups, through the convening, through one-on-one meetings with some of your organizations. But before starting the development, what we wanted to have was really get an organic feeling of how database managers actually work on data and maintain that data. So we did some observations in 6 organizations, and we went there to really watch how database managers work on their system, that processes to update record. How do they validate information? How do they connect with local service providers? How do they use their taxonomy? And in some cases, we also observed some of the call centers to see how they use those records to make good referrals. So we took everything that we had learned in the past year through all those different channels, and this informed the 3-day design sprint that we did in August, from August 14th to August 16th. For us, that design sprint was really a springboard to enter our development phase. It really enabled us to refine kind of our product vision and inform our technical roadmap. And we did it with XGG. XGG is a design company based in San Francisco. And we were very lucky because 9 people from 8 different organizations came to work with us during that design sprint. During the first day, we did a deeper dive on some core aspects of the work. How do you maintain and use resource directory information, et cetera, et cetera. The goal was really to confirm our assumptions and really refine our ideas. On day 2, what we did was we had developed very, very early mockup in Q2. Well, we took those mockups and we took them to the next level thanks to everything that we had learned the day before. And on day 3, we had participants look at those mockups and give us feedback. What worked, what wasn't clear, and if as database manager, they were in front of that data sharing platform, and they were seeing updates from other ServiceNet partners in front of them. Would they have used those updates and those information or not, and why, and what was missing? So it was very a hands-on design sprint where we really rolled up our sleeves together to work on those mockups and those ideas together. And I know that some people today in the call were in those observations or were in these design sprints, and I really, really want to thank all the organizations and all the people that participated, because they really brought invaluable information. The mockups that I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes were really informed by all the ideas that those people brought to the table. So I really, really want to thank them for coming and participating. So the mockups. Before I am going to share my screen and show you the mockups, I want to give you some preliminary information about them. There's a workflow that we envision behind that system. Imagine that several organizations are going to share with us their resource directory. The ServiceNet platform is going to match the records from those different databases in the backend, so that records from those databases that represent the same service or the same organization are going to be linked or are going to be matched in the backend. Then the ServiceNet platform is going to surface if there are differences or discrepancies between those records, and is going to show the differences to the database managers and give them additional information that are going to help them decide whether they are okay with the information, they trust the information, but also whether they want to import that, update that information into their own system. So that's the general data workflow. And it's very important for you to understand that nothing is set in stone. We really want to give the feedback from as many organizations as possible. And what I'm going to show you now, those are functionalities and workflows that we envision, but most importantly, that are going to be refined with pilot partners as we build the prototype. So it's really not set in stone. And something else also important for you to understand, the names that you're going to see on the mockups are completely random. The names of the service providers that you're going to see are real agencies that exist in the Bay Area, but the other names are random. Yes, for instance, you're going to see that we used the names of local 211 providers, for instance. This is just us imagining how the database would work, but it's obviously not a working system, and those are random names. Okay, so now I am going to stop sharing my PowerPoint, and I am going to share another screen, which is the mockup. No, not the right one. Let me find it. Sorry for that. I'll be here in a minute. Here we go. Could some people confirm through the book? Okay, it works. Anne just told me that she could see it on her screen. So this is what we imagine could be the landing screen of the prototype. For the people who cannot see it, it's a fairly simple page with a list of ServiceNet activity, a list of records with 2 columns. On the left, you have a list of service providers in the Bay Area with high-level information, the name of the organization, the address, and some tags. Those records, imagine that you're a database provider or you're in an organization. Those records are the records that you have in your own database. Then on the right, you can see information that the ServiceNet platform can provide you as the database owner. The ServiceNet platform is going to show you that other organizations have information that differ from yours on that record. For instance, they're going to show you that an organization has a different address or a different phone number. If more than one organization, more than 2 actually organizations have a different information. You can hover on the number and actually see who those organizations are. We imagine that as the landing page for Database Manager, and we want really to enable them to customize that page to what they need, to their priorities, to their process. So we imagine some system to be able to sort that information, for instance, but also to filter. For instance, if the person today wants to focus on a specific city or county, or wants to focus on a specific type of service, or let's imagine that you know that there is a ServiceNet partner who has the same standards as you, who has usually very high quality data, and today you want to focus on the recent updates from that ServiceNet partner. You can really customize what you're going to see on that page to make it as efficient and as relevant for your own work. Then let's imagine that you want to focus on the Broadmoor Plaza resource. I just went to another page where you have the record for that service providers called Broadmoor Plaza. What you have in front of you is the information from your own record with the organization name, the description, and the usual fields that you would have in a record: address, phone call, email, phone number, email, etc., etc. On the right, you have an activity log where you can see which other service providers have updated and changed that record recently. And then you can see all those icons with the different colors. And I'm going to explain you a little bit more behind that. But first, let me tell you that something we learned during the design sprint, and that was really important, is trust. How can we make sure that the information that we're going to surface on the ServiceNet platform is going to be something meaningful and that other organizations can trust? What are the type of information that they need to assess the quality of the information? Basically, what are the signifiers of trust? And we learned very quickly that there were several types of information that were important. For instance, who was the organization who made the change? When that change happened? If possible, how did they get that information? And then there are different types of changes. So for instance, for the address, what you see here is a conflict. Two other organizations have a different address. And what a conflict is basically a difference between two databases. So on D0, when we're going to launch the pilot, we imagine that we're going to have probably hundreds of conflicts just because those organizations have been maintaining those records in silos for a very long time. But then, so as you can see here, those two organizations imported your database maybe a month ago, and they had different information. But then on the zip code, it's different because what we want to surface here is actual changes. It's more than a conflict. It is a recent change that somebody did on the record. So here you can see that two organizations changes that zip code not so long ago. And if you want to import that information, then you would be able to do it. And finally, we have the concept of recommendation. So here, for instance, the email, and you have here two other ServiceNet partners who have another email. And the concept of recommendation is not a direct recommendation from another organization. Think about it more as a system where the platform is going to recommend you to maybe look into that change a little bit deeper, because that change has been made by more than one organization, or because organizations verified that information and gave you more information to tell you how they got that information. Then there's another important thing that we want the database manager to be able to do. Let's imagine you see that, and you see those changes. You see the fact that other ServiceNet partners have different information for this record. Then you may want to see the whole record from those partners. So what we plan to do is give the database managers the ability to see side-by-side records, to see your record on your left and the record from a ServiceNet partner on the right, to be able to compare what you have and what they have. We imagine that that's going to be highly useful if you're a database manager and you want to look at the partner's record to assess the quality of the record, but also to check that you're not missing anything else that a partner would have in their record, and that could be highly useful for you to have in your own as well. That page is also going to serve another purpose for us. As you can imagine, sometimes the matching is going to be probably a little bit tricky for us. So we want to give the users the ability to tell us, well, you know what, that is probably not the same record. We are not talking about the same service or the same program here. So obviously, in the example that you see on my screen, this is probably the same type, the same organization. You have, the address, the description, etc. are the same, and the only thing that is different is the name. But in some instances, it will be possible to have different records that are different organizations or services that are going to be matched. So what we want to do is give the database manager the ability to tell us, no, this is not a good match, and here is why. And that's going to be very important for us during the pilot to have that, because getting their feedback is going to enable us to really improve our matching system. So I showed you the mockups very quickly. When I am done with my presentation, we can come back, and if you have any questions, we can come back to those mockups and we can take more time on the screens. But for the moment, I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint in order to tell you a little bit more about the pilot. Okay, here we go. So we plan to launch the pilot. Basically, that's going to be a test deployment of our prototype with approximately 5 partners. We plan to launch in Q1 2019 in the Bay Area. Before the launch, there's going to be some preparatory work. As we're developing the platform, pilot partners will participate in the testing of the prototype, will give us ideas. That way, we're going to really be able to refine some of the functions and capabilities of the platform. And we are also going to have discussions around measurement, evaluation, how the pilot is going to be launched, etc. Then launch in Q1 for a 6-month duration, during which we expect pilot partners to actively use the platform as part of their own process. Pilot partners will also participate in other discussions. For instance, how are we going to evaluate impact? Let's refine the sustainability model of ServiceNet, and let's refine how we can make sure that if there are organizations that are contributing a lot to the system, and if there are organizations that are using the information a lot, well, how do we build a system that fairly compensates the organizations that are sharing and giving a lot of their data to the cohort? We'll also have data pilot partners collect some metrics, et cetera, et cetera. So in terms of flow of data through the system, we expect pilot partners to regularly share their database with Benetech through a technical channel that we are going to talk and agree upon, ideally through an automated way, for instance, an API, but we know that not every organization has an API, so we can also envision working with CSV exports, for instance. Then Benetech will make shareable information available to other pilots through the ServiceNet platform on a regular basis. And through the platform, pilot partners will be able to consult information from other pilot partners and potentially decide that they want to import that data, they want to use it for their own records, et cetera, et cetera. What are the goals for this pilot? Obviously, we have several of them. We want to test the prototype platform and get the feedback from pilot partners so that we can refine, we can improve the functionalities, and this is also going to inform our roadmap for the next development round. We will also get real-life data on data maintenance of pilot partners, but very importantly on how data is going to flow, which partner is gonna consult, look at the data, but not important, which partner is going to import those changes in their database and how and why. We also want to refine a baselining of the cost and value of the data. This is going to be very important because at the end of the day, we really want to be able to evaluate if there is a gain in efficiency and how much. Also work on how we measure impact, refine the sustainability and governance plan, and really lay the groundwork for the full deployment of the platform in the Bay Area, and basically create a scalable and replicable tool and model that then we can deploy and expand in the Bay Area and beyond. As you must have understood in what I've just told you, we really envision the pilot partners to be the core stakeholder group who will give feedback on the prototype, tell us whether its usability is good, give us ideas for the roadmap, be the core group who is going to be in the very important strategic discussions around the governance of the ServiceNet system, et cetera, et cetera. We are in discussions right now with some organizations who have been participating in the ServiceNet project for a very long time now. And if we're not already discussing with you, and if you're interested, please reach out to us and let us know. We can have another call where we can do a deeper dive. We can talk with you about the consequences for your organization and what participating in the pilot would involve for your organization. I cannot stress enough the fact that if you're interested, please reach out to us. That's very important. We expect our pilot partners to, well, that's pretty obvious, but I'm still going to say it, have and maintain resource directory about services in the Bay Area, agree and have the capacity to implement all the activities of the pilot, be able to provide service data on a regular basis through a channel that we will agree on together, and then ideally would be considered by other potential pilot partners as an organization that they will love to work with. So we hope we are going to be able to identify and finalize the list of pilot partners in the weeks to come. So please contact us if you're interested. And don't worry, if you cannot work with us in Q1 2019 because you're too busy, you have other things to do, or any other reason, don't worry. We can keep discussing together and you can join us for the second round. So of course, we are going to keep the broader community updated and tell everybody how it is going. But in the meantime, if you cannot participate in the pilot, but you still want to be involved and to be in the loop in a way or another, there are different ways for you to be engaged. Through our discussion groups. If you're not already in the mailing list, send me an email and I'll add you to the mailing list. I know that Greg Bloom, who is in this call, is also very deep into those questions. So if you're interested, so if you don't know Greg Bloom first, Greg has created Open Referral. Open Referral has developed open data standards that makes it easier to share, find, and use information about community resources. So I added on this slide how you can participate in the Open Referral groups. And if you don't know Greg yet, send me an email and I'll be glad to introduce you to that very smart man. So I have talked a lot. I've given you a lot of information, so I am going to stop talking. And this is now time for your questions. I don't know if you have noticed, but right now in the Zoom system, you are muted. So if you have any question, go ahead, unmute yourself or tap into the chat box so that we know you're there, we know your question, or we unmute you in the system. Okay, let me know. It could be a question about the high-level ServiceNet project, about the pilot in the Bay Area, about the mockups. And even if you don't have questions or feedback today, if tomorrow you come up with a question or a comment and you think, oh, I wish that mockup would do this, or I wonder why Benetech chose to do this or focus on this, really we really hope that this is just the beginning of a bigger conversation, and we'll be happy to have a phone call if you're in the Bay Area to meet with you in person. For us, this was just a way for us to give you more and give you an ability to see what we've done and react. And apparently we have a question.
Yes, one question has come in. Are there any particular categories of services that you're interested in having in the pilot?
That is a very good question. The answer would be not really. The type of pilot partners that we may have will probably be either organizations with very broad, comprehensive databases, and others may they may focus on a very specific field. And we don't have ourselves as Benetech a preference or something that we want to focus on. And I would say that it is also up to the potential pilot partners. Our goal is really to make sure that we have a cohort, a group that is very solid and who really wants to work with each other, so that it makes sense for all of them to be part of the same collaborative effort.
Another question, how many organizations are remaining involved in this effort?
That is a very good question. I have not counted recently. We've had, it depends on how you count, but I'd say between 15 and 20 organizations, and I'm looking at Anne to see whether my evaluation is correct or not. Some organizations have been very involved in the discussion groups, and we're in every discussion group. We went there for the observations, they came to the design sprint, etc. And others are very interested, but for the moment don't have the ability to participate because of other big projects that they have. So I'd say in terms of core organizations that we have been closely working with and who have been very engaged since the beginning, I'd say 15 to 20. And then, on a broader basis, organizations that we've been talking to, who are interested, who wants to hear about the project and really be in the loop, much more than that. That's hard to say, but I'd say probably 30 or 40 organizations. Maybe more. I may be forgetting.
Another question, will the presentation be made available online or emailed out?
Yes, thank you for asking this. I really hope that this recording will be available with closed captionings, edited and everything by the end of the day. If some people want to have the recording available, I can definitely send it to them today by email. What I plan to do is also put the link on the ServiceNet webpage, and I will also send the recording to the whole ServiceNet community by email in the following weeks. So let me know, send me an email or tell us through the Zoom chat if you want to have the recording link very soon. Okay, I think we're gonna wait another minute or two to see if other people have questions, and if not, then you know how to reach us. We're here and we're really looking forward to get your feedback, your thoughts, your concerns, your questions, anything you may have. We're really open, and for us this is a collaborative effort, so we're here and we're really looking forward to talk with you.